you're gonna throw it out. Okay, so Dean, do you want to introduce our players on Calm Before the Storm?
Calm Before the Storm, you say? Well, okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week 6 of the CCL Tier 5. I am TA Darius. Joining me this evening is TA Rogue and the one, the only TA Chadman. On this map, which is Calm Before the Storm, we have Mr. Crow and Ben Ad. Both playing for Perth Penguins and Fusion Slugs, respectively. Mr. Crow is a Diamond Zerg according to the fixture, and Ben Ad is a Platinum Protoss. So this, if I'm reading this right, is actually the ace match.
Really?
Yeah, this is the ace match, and this is the. I think this is the last. This is a. There is a 1-0 position, so this could go down to a win. I don't know who has the first win. It'll be interesting to see what happens here.
Sweet.
Super duper interesting indeed. Now, just having a quick look at the map, it's not a map that I'm hugely familiar with, so that speaks very well for someone who happens to be a team captain. We can see that you do have an expansion out the arse end of your base, which doesn't actually have another way in except through the main base, and obviously things like drops. So it would be interesting to see where players opt to take their first expansions. However, it looks like Mr. Crow is opting to take his right out the front, and it is going to be a 15 hatch.
Yeah, maybe not aware of the back door, or maybe he wants to take the harder one first, and then able to easily take this at the easy one second.
Meanwhile, in the base of our Protoss friend, I want to say Band-Aid every time I look at him, but it's Ben-Ad, I think.
Ben-A-D.
Bernard. Ben-A-D.
Yeah, he's been after death.
So he's not
Now this is a map in which I think players can, like Protoss players can, for Nexus first.
Yeah.
It looks like Ben-AD is going to do some sort of like one gate expand against the Zerg, which I don't really like. I think the Zerg can punish that really well, like really easily. If if Mr. Crow wasn't taking a hatch first, which he is, but Ben-AD doesn't know that. Looking at his vision, he hasn't left his base. His first probe's leaving the base now. But if Mr. Crow had have done a 14-14 pressure, he'd win right now.
Yeah, it's definitely not at all a standard build that we are seeing here. Sorry, go ahead, Mrs. Rowe.
I don't know if our Zerg player is aware of the spawning locations on this map, because he seems to have scouted to the bottom right. Wait, can you spawn in any of the positions?
Yeah, I think you can spawn in all 4 of the positions. It's not
really?
cross yeah.
Huh. No, I've only played this map once before in a tournament, and it didn't go very well because I had never played this map before.
Yeah, Ben-AD, I don't know what he's doing here. He's gone for a Gateway Nexus Forge build. It's going to be like a early early Gateway Forge expand. Means his Cyber's going to be late, and the positioning of his buildings here leaves that kind of diagonal hex gap where the Zealot's standing. Now Zealots and 1 hex units can travel through there, but Stalkers can't. So he's going to have a bit of an issue.
Getting out of his base, which means he's going to have to kill his forge or his gateway, which will just leave him wide open to all sorts of abuse from the Zerg.
And then this cannon positioning, I mean, it gets a bit of the front half of the entrance to the 3rd base, but it doesn't have a lot of coverage over the ramp. It's got short range onto the ramp because of its positioning.
Don't worry, he's
putting
really
needs to leave that.
Do we need to pull that Zealot back?
It's okay, the cannon should be able to clean most of it up.
The
One shot
Zergling
left.
will get in there to scout that he has expanded.
Doesn't see too much though, and we can see Ben-AD's using, not missing probes. Probably a bit too much on his chrono, but
he hasn't transferred any down to saturate his natural as yet though.
He's choosing the method of just saturating his main and then just sending all his probes from his Nexus to his natural. Or his back to natural. You can see that Mr. Crow's put down his 3rd. He's starting to get up a decent number of lings. Not much of a lead as far as supply is concerned, but we can see Ben-AD's got 31 probes versus Mr. Crow's 23 drones. So, and I don't think Mr. Crow can do anything with these Zerglings. These Zealots are going to be able to hold it with 2 cannons.
How about now?
Needs to get that sentry in the back. Yeah, he's fine.
Okay,
Mr. Crow's
so
got
do you see
really
that...
good map vision though.
Yes, that's exactly what I was just about to say. Mr. Crow does have fantastic map vision compared to his opponent, who is pretty much just locked on into his base. We do see that Mr. Crow now also has his third in that super safe position. So, also his Roach Warren is about... well, is now finished, and Lair is halfway there. Would be really good to see him get some more drones, because looking at his main, that looks quite sad, with only 6, now 7 drones actually mining in the main.
Yeah, he should know that he's pretty safe at the moment with that expansion being taken, with those 2 cannons forced at the front, you know? That's 2 gateways that have not been built. He's got that position pretty held.
I don't know what Mr. Crow's doing. Maybe he's going for a muta rush. He's taken a lot of gas. He's gone for like an economical build and then not been economical. Like he opened with a hatch first and then he got a very quick third.
Yeah.
Built a bunch of lings before the third, built a Roach Warren, and now I think that Roach Warren is just going to be a safety thing. He's going to try and maybe rush to mutas or something.
Yeah, both players being a little indecisive. It may just be because they haven't played this map before.
Yeah. I mean, they knew about the map for a few days, so they should have probably practiced it, but, you know, they're...
Now with the Robo coming up for the Protoss, so...
Yeah, he needs to take his... There he goes. Gets his second gas at his natural. Many cannons at the back of his main, so he's probably wary about this idea of mutas. I think when you scout a lot of early lings, and you know that it's a big macro map, you can probably expect them, and we see that the spy is being built.
I would have liked to have seen him maybe hold off on those cannons just for a little bit to get an observer into his opponent's base and check before he invested those 450 minerals. Because that is a heavy investment. I mean, if Mr. Crow had decided to just go with a roach push, you know, that's 450 minerals worth of cannons out the back of his base.
Yeah, sitting at the back of his base doing nothing. That's right.
He has actually got now a total of 5 cannons at the mineral lines of both bases combined, so he's actually spent quite a little bit more on that static defense, which is actually going to work in his favour when it comes to... oh, Jesus, yes, you're right. It is actually going to work in his favour when the mutas finally do come in, but just doing these sorts of things blindly isn't really a hallmark of someone who feels too confident, I would say, because he doesn't really know what's going on, and I feel this is probably just a bit of a panic move going, I don't feel safe, I need cannons.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bened's supply block. He's also got way oversaturated his natural, and he's only got 2 on gas. Now he's got 3. Just a quick point. He's only got 1 pylon powering 2 of these cannons. Now that's one thing you look for is if you're a Zerg player and you're muta harassing, and you see 1 pylon powering 2 cannons, go for the pylon because the 2 cannons have more health than 1 pylon. So if you can knock out the pylon, it's going to be quicker than trying to take out the cannons.
And now Mr. Crow's got 12 mutas out on the map. I would have liked to have seen him maybe just go for a few less and get a bit of a scout off to see, you know, he can see with that Overlord that there's some cannons going up, so, you know, if he had just made a couple, gone for a look, and then maybe switched into Broodlords or something that's going to be a little more useful.
Wow, fighting over these cannons really not economical, losing a few mutas though.
Yeah, it's not the best move. Yeah.
It's about 6 mutas.
Personally, I feel that Mr. Crow is in quite a damn good position, even given that engagement, because we do see he's now taking his 4th. He has had his 3rd up for quite some time. He has finally got that drone count up, although it's not quite well distributed between the bases. 64 drones to 59 probes, and he is on 3 bases with the 4th on the way up. Further mutas coming across the map now, and again picking off these cannons. It's a bit of a strange position to attack twice into. I would have liked to have seen him go around a bit and see if there's any weak spots that he could have actually gotten in and done some better damage without taking quite so much himself.
The one good thing though is that with these muta on the map, it's forcing BNAD to stay inside his base and defend. So he's free to expand all over the map with that 4th base. Has he got a macro hatch down yet?
No, he does not.
Okay, so he should be looking...
And no creep spread either, which is a bit of a... Except for this, you know, down the front. I'd like to see him connect these 3 bases. It just takes 1 to 2 tumors to connect those up, and he just neglected that. Which could come to hurt him if a big air push comes into his back or something.
Muta's now scouting that 3rd base for our Protoss friend Ben AD. Will be interesting to see whether or not he decides to come on in and smash some pylons down, which is exactly what he's going to do. and getting some free hits on this Nexus, but these Stalkers are now blinking in, and it would be good to actually see all those Stalkers get involved in the fight, because that was actually something he could have won.
He has shown that blink now, though, which Mr. Crow was not aware of until now. Chad the subserving. Second meters. He should be engaging with his roaches into these stalkers that are just getting free hits off.
Would be good to see Mr. Crow actually spend some more of his money here, and it looks like that Ben AD has finally worked out that that gateway has to get out of the way. Hopefully he doesn't kill it before the unit actually finishes warping in. I'm not too sure whether or not that cancels it. I should know that as I play Protoss. But we do see that Mr. Crow just floating quite a bit of money there, same with his Protoss opponent, but he's completely starved for gas. So is taking that gas straight away at the fourth base.
Yeah. It would be good to see him throw at least one macro hatch down. He's moved into Hydralisks, which will be beneficial against this Gateway army, but Storm is up now, and a good couple of storms on those Hydras will absolutely wreck them.
The one thing I'd like to point out is the +1 armor upgrade for Mr. Crow is just now coming close to completion, and that is, as far as I can see... Oh no, he does have +1 attacks, excuse me, I didn't think he actually had it, must have been when I looked before. His upgrades, realistically, at this point in the game, aren't that good. Would like to see him get some extra upgrades. We do see that Ben AD now is working on his +1 armor, and another forge would be really handy. Oh, he's got another forge just in the back of his base, but it's not doing anything. He should really start getting that +3.
Oh, and a Nidus going up now. He's got all his roaches loaded in there. I don't know what his plans are. He doesn't really have anything for vision.
There goes a Nidus worm, maybe, no. There's a... what? Am I seeing things, or...?
Where? Oh, there we go. No, it just came up.
Ah,
out the back.
It was queued up. It was queued up. There was another one that went down somewhere.
And he's going to lose that Overlord. I would have preferred to see him maybe try for in the back of the main. If he'd managed to get like a changeling or something in there. Just because it's a little bit further away from their army, which is looking quite fearful at the moment. But now Ben AD is maxed out, he's going to start moving across the map. He doesn't have any proxy pylons down, and another Nidus.
Yeah, the Nidus is up the top left, and he does have one in the center of the map, so he is looking to make it nice and easy for him to move around the map, given that Nidus mobility. Pretty much bypassing the whole you don't have much creep thing there, so it's kind of a smart idea, but at the same time, the creep is really handy to have. Another Nidus now going down at Protoss' logical fourth, I think you could call it. But yeah, Protoss now sitting on a maxed army, has been for a little bit of time, is chrono boosting further upgrades. Would be nice to see him chuck on a couple of extra gateways, because I'm not too sure, but I don't think he has quite enough. There we go, he's throwing down some extra gateways now. And a lot of probes getting caught off here by these three roaches, and the mutas are now coming in and going to get some free probe kills here. Would be good to see Protoss react, maybe grab some stalkers and quickly well, it's alright, Zerg backed off.
He's going to come down here and clean out this Nidus though, and these four roaches will lose their lives.
We do see that the Greater Spire is now in production for our Zerg friend, and Zerg ground carapace level 3 is on the way.
Alright, so this could be quite a nice engagement for the Zerg if he gets some good fungals off. He's going to have to watch that his infestors don't get feedbacked, because there's also a lot of energy on the High Templar.
Yeah, no, he does have 6 High Templar at the very least on the field, all of which with full energy. So these infestors, as you say, although there are 9 of them, will have to be extremely careful, because feedback is cheap and it will fuck your day right up if you're a spellcaster. The infestors now actually being burrowed. And I don't see an observer with the Protoss army.
He's got a couple of changelings moving in here to scout out what's going on. And they have been detected. And Ben AD is long distance mining. This is fourth, is still going up. Wow.
Here it comes, here comes some money fungals going down on the Protoss army there. The Infestor's actually not getting feedback whatsoever. Here comes the first storm now. Second storm, money storm, hitting so many of those units, but these fungals just chewing away at so much health. These Infestors allowed to get the time they need to do so much damage. Not an equal army trade whatsoever. We do see that Zerg now 26 roaches in production. Neural Parasite is almost completed researching, and 16 Corruptors are now coming out. So once Zerg loses these next round of roaches, he will be looking for these mutas that he might sack. He will be looking to make them Broodlords, which will be absolutely fantastic for him. This Protoss army, however, having a look at it with health bars on, so damn low. The shields now obviously almost fully regenerated, but that is not a very healthy army.
And we can see that Mr. Crow has expanded 3 times on the right hand side of the map. So he's just mass expanding. Now he knows that the Protoss is being forced back inside this base to deal with these Mutalisks.
And we do see those Mutalisks now dying for the cause. 5 Broodlords on the way. No gas for any more, but 5 Broodlords are going to be absolutely fantastic. We do see that, as I said, the Protoss army is relatively weak, and he does still have quite a few High Templar, which means he will have energy for Storm and for feedback, but it's not actually going to be too necessary for him here.
And goodbye to those 2 Corruptors. And he's going to come along and clear out some of these creep tumors. With his
we do see that 5 Broodlords are completed, and a further 4 more are on the way. Some roaches out on the field, not too many, however. Some Overlords in a terrible position, actually going to get picked off on the way, but he does move them. And now some Zerglings in production, because our Zerg friend actually has a metric shit ton of drones. He's sitting on 75, 74, he's building buildings. 72, a lot of Spine Crawlers, 6 Spine Crawlers coming up right now as Protoss is moving in, and these Broodlords doing some absolutely fantastic damage. The Roach is keeping everything in check. The Stalkers yet to focus fire on those Broodlords. No storms coming down. We are seeing that the Archons are being merged in response to this threat of Broodlords, but the Broodlings just chewing the shit out of these Stalkers. He pulls them back a little bit, make sure that they survive that little bit longer, but these Roaches and these Broodlords just are such a fantastic combo for destroying this type of Protoss army. We do see the supply discrepancy now, 110, which has now just been leveled to 100. And Zerg, with so much money banked up in the way of minerals, could just make a shit ton of stuff, and he is still maxed.
Yeah, I'd like to see him burrow those roaches. There we go. Just to regen their health a little bit.
Stream hacks.
And I believe he should move down to this 4th base. It's just well oversaturated, not mining gas, and only protected by a few cannons. While there is a little bit of an army left here at the 3rd, it's going to be nowhere near enough to deal with these roaches and these Broodlords. So I think this Zerg player has the game well and truly in the bag.
Poking forward now with his roaches, he is quite close to Protoss's front. Those Broodlords are quite a ways away, however. Not really that good. I'd like to see Protoss actually make these Templar into Archons, not all of them, but it would be quite nice to have that extra DPS potential. And the Broodlords, as well as the Hydras, now floating on down to get ready for the engagement. We see Zerg now engaging in, and Protoss nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, has to engage here. Not the best of positions for Zerg to be attacking into, but Protoss just does not have anything to stop this.
Yeah, all those High Templars are sitting by idle, ready to storm, but storms on roaches, it's not really... he's not trading too bad, but these High Templars are going to go down, this base will go down. These are
13 more roaches in production, and we do see Zerg flyer attacks level 2 now on the way, and we get the GG from Ben AD. Big shout out to the Chad indeed. He did actually end up paying the price for those sperms he spilt, but luckily us 2 in bachelors, although you're not a bachelor.
I'm a bachelorette.
You're a bachelorette. We could get on a TV show together and meet up.
Oh my god. Alright, so a little bit of BM from our spectator here. So up in the top right position we have our green Protoss spawning, and he is Ben AD. And then down in the bottom left, if Chad is going to take us down there, we have our Zerg player, Mr. Crow. So as you can see, the probe went out from Ben-AD to put his pylon down, and he is opting not to take the fast expansion by putting the pylon on the low ground. He's going to wall off up the top. So he is looking like he might be one-basing. Or gonna take a later expansion. We will have to see what he has. You know that comes up on the stream.
You concentrate good, bro. You concentrate good. So this is where we will start to see a bit of build deviation from our players. We are hitting that timing where Zerg will opt to either take that pull first, or if he goes for a hatch first build. He hasn't yet scouted his opponent. Maybe he is just feeling like this is damn old standard and he's just going to do his normal thing. But whether or not Ben-AD pulls some sort of magic one-base timing out of his butthole or does something that's a bit... I wouldn't say non-standard, but I would at the same time. We do see the 15 hatch now coming down from Mr. Crow, but as I said earlier, we may potentially see something like a 3-gate sentry-heavy expansion from Ben-AD. Maybe he's just not a player who likes to forge fast expand. They do exist. They are out there. Much like the truth. However, I'm not going to bring it to you.
Yeah, and if he's not feeling too comfortable forge fast expanding, he knows that this is the last game in the series. He knows that he wants to play it a little bit safer. So he may be doing something that he has practiced a lot on this map. He has not taken his gas yet.
I think he's just confused about which race he's playing, because he's sort of doing... I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't really like this choice. He did it the previous game, and it just didn't seem to have any sort of build synergy to it. I mean, he's now walling off the ramp to his main, or at least starting to build a more complete wall off, but his natural's just completely exposed. I mean, he could have done the exact same thing with the forge first, down at his natural, and ended up with the same wall that protects 2 bases instead of just 1.
Yeah.
So I really do not like this decision. It feels like he's playing against a Terran in some of the decisions that he's making. So again, I am interested to see what he's going to do with this. Maybe this is zealot pressure early on that he did in the second game, which was the first that we casted, is something that he just really likes to do and maybe has had some success with, but it's definitely not something that you would consider standard by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit confusing. The delayed gas, the delayed cyber.
Or the lack thereof.
I know, the cyber's going down now. And this is a kind of a weird little wall thing we've got going down here. I really would have preferred it at the ramp. But, I mean, I've never seen Ben-AD play before. I've never seen Mr. Crow play before, so I'm not really familiar with their playstyles, but I guess we'll see. We've got a couple of zealots moving out to take those towers.
I don't mean to be a downer or anything like that, to just keep looking at Ben-AD and questioning what he's doing, but this forge, thus far its only purpose has been to build a cannon. He does not yet have any sort of gas to either get warp gate, which he should be getting now, because his core is finished, and any sort of upgrades which you normally would get the benefit of when doing a forge fast expand. Those two things are quite easy to use early on while giving you that early defense, and he does have 4 on gas in his main. Thank you very much, Mr. Chad, for that eagle eye perspective. And we do see once again for our Zerg player the not so drone heavy fast expand econ build into speedlings, but he's getting the crawler a hell of a lot earlier than he did in the previous game, possibly because he has seen these zealots come out. But he does have quite a lot of lings here. We'll be able to delay long enough for this crawler to complete if these zealots aren't being watched, which they aren't. And we does have a queen out the front now, 2 queens out in fact, which should be injecting. He's not actually mining much gas at all. And we do see that not a really good position, I would say, for those lings to engage in. He could have avoided a couple of losses there,
Yeah,
but ultimately coming out good for Mr. Crow, yeah.
I think it's an interesting choice of third base for the Zerg player. I mean, it's all well and good to take a hidden expansion, but it can be left a little undefended.
See, I wouldn't 100% disagree with that expansion choice myself, given the unit composition that he's going this early in the game, and given what he knows of his opponent thus far. His opponent in the games that we have seen thus far, which is one which isn't really much to base an opinion off, has done this exact play before, and he's doing it again. And previously, our Zerg friend has gone for the fast units of speedlings early on and using them primarily to defend, harass, and poke around at his opponent. So while he has a faster army, it is intentionally, or feasibly possible for him to take a base somewhere else on the map, because it means that whenever Protoss moves out to try and attack one of these locations, he's quite far from the other and makes him quite counter-attackable, as well as easy to sort of defend these far-away positions. The creep spread, however, yes, as Chadman has pointed out, pretty much
as well over there.
Yeah, and let's have a look at the units that are available. We see Protoss is still ahead on probes, as he was in the last game, even though his opponent was bases up on him. I'm going to agree with Chad there. These kids are so crazy, because we see that third just not getting droned yet. Like, there's 5 drones there. Having a look at the second, there's 7 there. I don't know why you need 4 bases to put your 12 drones on.
Yeah, I would have preferred to see a macro hatch go down in the main with an extra queen, and for him to drone up a little more before taking that 4th base. He doesn't really have the drone count, you know, to take that base yet, but we shall see what he has planned. He's going to send the Overseer in and get a good scout out. 4 more gates coming up. Oh, and a warp prism is coming out. Some special tactics are incoming. Is he going to shuttle goon?
Shuttle goon. We do see a grand total of 8 warp gates are out now for our Protoss friend. When I say 8 are out now, we do have some extra building, and 2 of them are now being morphed into warp gates. That warp prism, however, flies right straight up the guts of the map, and is currently sitting in his opponent's vision. The Queen spots it, so he knows it is now coming, and we do see some spine crawlers going down all over the place. Still that 4th with no drones in it. The 3rd starting to look a little bit more healthy. The natural, however, 4 drones in total mining on minerals. If he's ever been looking for one thing that he could possibly work on in his play, it is that aspect. And as I said, I'm not trying to be a downer or anything like that, but these are some things that I am noticing. These spine crawlers are going to be absolutely critical. Not a very good position for Protoss to attack into, given the amount of static defense that there is here, but there are so many unit warp-ins, and he is now being forced back by these roaches and spine crawler combo. He's actually moving away from the damaged spine crawlers towards the more healthy ones, which definitely not a really good choice at all. And this push is going to be shut down straight away. Zerg now technically on 4 bases, but kind of not, and his opponent's still stuck on 2 bases. So
it would have been it would have been cool to see him bring a couple of those queens down to transfuse the spines, and negate that warp prism. As Chadman pointed out, our Protoss player has been banking a lot of chrono on his nexuses. 1 at full energy, and he's not chronoing those gateways or his upgrades, and he's sticking to a very zealot heavy composition even after seeing those roaches. So Mr. Crow is going to move across the map here and have a little poke in with this small roach army, but he's not going to be able to get much done.
I would like to point out thus far during the game, Mr. Crow has actually shown a good awareness of what his opponent is doing and a bit of good map vision there. He does occasionally check little bits and pieces, corners of the map, and he did see that warp prism move into his base. He's actually lost track of it now. But given that Protoss is now under attack, I'm not too sure whether or not he's going to opt to... Oh no, he warps in at home. We do see the Chrono Boost now getting dumped on all those gateways. More units coming out, and these roaches are sure to die if he gets some force. There we go, the force field goes down, these roaches are dead. Mr. Crow knows it, so he stands there and delivers a bit of pain. Always a good choice to see a player do that rather than just sit there and cluster up against the force fields waiting for the inevitable sad death. And we do see that Mr. Crow actually hasn't done too much with his lair as of yet. I'm quite interested to... Sorry, he does have a Hydrogen up, and he does have a Hydras on the way. I didn't notice that, sorry. But I am quite interested to see in what path he intends to take this play. Now, having a look at Ben AD's 3rd that he's just opted to take, this wall-off I much more approve of than the one he has used at the start of the game in both games. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's at least a hell of a lot more secure than walling off a ramp to your main and leaving that base just completely open, for example. So I do prefer that choice and that way to play as Protoss, so I give him a thumbs up for that.
Yeah, the only thing that he should be aware of was that in the last game, his Zerg opponent utilized Nidus Worms, and by walling off the front of that base, he's going to find it a little difficult to get his army back and forth through there. So, I mean, he has to be aware of that. There's also an overlord sitting over that base, so he has good vision. So, I mean, it's when you play somebody in a series, you can always kind of bear these things in mind. If they've done it before, there's a likelihood that they'll do it again, you know? So...
Much like in the previous game, we do see Mr. Crow is just taking bases ahoy. He has an extra 2 bases on the way. He has his entire side of the map covered now with bases, and he's getting the creep spread done. Much better creep spread than last game. That's fantastic to see. He may have actually noticed that during the last game that his creep spread wasn't quite ideal for what he was trying to do, and he has improved that this game. So what we like to see in, I was going to say the BSGCL, but in the CCL, Tier 5, this is the league for improvement, this is the league for having fun, and it is good to see that both players are hopefully doing both, and we do see that also Mr. Crow now has much better drone count in his base. And moving up now to the Protoss 30, he is seeing this wall off and the cannons, opts to back out. The Protoss army, however, wants to actually put the nail in the coffin for this Zerg army.
And it's going to be interesting.
Not able to call this one at the moment because we do have a lot of Zerg reinforcements coming in and we do have a Colossus coming out for Protoss, but there's so many Hydras here that do absolute insane DPS to gateway units. Just enough force fields there to deny the Hydras getting up into the base. Once these roaches are picked off, we would expect to see him pull back. But this has got to be feeling like a lot of pressure for Ben AD now with just so many Hydras barreling down the front. And he just doesn't have the warp-ins at the moment. Here we go, a couple of extra warp-ins coming in now, but it's just not going to be enough to stop this Hydra flood.
And he really needs to use that Chrono Boost on his gateways and on his Colossus to get it out, because that could be the difference right here. If he'd had that just a few seconds earlier with those force fields, he could have negated a lot of those Hydras getting into his base. But as it stands, it looks like...
looks like this could be game, folks.
Mr. Crow...
The Colossus is out now, zapping away, getting shot at, still zapping away. Zealots come down, block the ramp, Colossus still zapping away. That Colossus would have been absolutely fantastic to have just that little bit earlier in the game, as you said. The Chrono Boost just not quite so wisely spent, and I don't know why that sentry didn't ever make a force field to stop him getting up the ramp. We do get the GG from Ben AD. So Mr. Crow takes out the series 2-1. Mr. Crow, of course, being our player for... Quick, find it, don't sound like an idiot. Perth Penguins, which means Perth Penguins do take the ace match for their games against Fusion Slugs this week.